The Engineering Services Division of the City of San Angelo is responsible for the engineering, design, survey, and project management for a lot of the city's capital improvements program projects, including street reconstruction and construction projects, stormwater, traffic signals, street lights, sidewalks, and crack seal and seal coat maintenance operations in San Angelo. There are different levels of complaints that the city gets regarding the roadway infrastructure. A lot of people call in reporting potholes and so forth. Our street and bridge department can take care of those smaller repairs and generally make people happy that have to drive over the same bad section of road every day. But we do have some major problems in San Angelo, and we have done an assessment of all of the really bad streets in San Angelo and prioritize those in a list. And we're chipping away at those one at a time. Out of the list, the top 15 list of streets in San Angelo, we've already addressed the top 8 of those. So we have a lot fewer people complaining now and a lot more people thanking us for the job that we're doing. And again, when we do these reconstruction projects, we are eliminating the really bad sections of roadway. When we do that, maintenance efforts are lower, and those maintenance efforts can then be diverted to some of these other problems, some of these other citizen concerns, some of these other areas that people keep calling in about. So it really frees up our forces in street and bridge to take care of a lot more of these citizen complaints. But on the large-scale projects, where people say they drive down the road and they have to have a chin strap. We're trying to address those major issues now, and we're really making great progress through our city's capital improvements plan to do that.
One of the long-term planning activities that the Development Services Department is undertaking is an update to our comprehensive plan. And we started this a couple of years ago, where we started looking at our comprehensive plan, which is really the document that should be guiding us in terms of where and how we develop the city. The comprehensive plan helps tell you where new roads should be built. It helps tell you the type of zoning and other development regulations that should be in place for your community, as well as just providing a vision for people to know what types of things are trends in new development and what types of things we see coming as a community. And so right now we're in the process of finishing up that comprehensive plan update. And what that will do is really give us a new focus, number one, on downtown revitalization, looking at downtown as really the center of our community, which historically it always has been. But how can we kind of re-center, if you will, the community around downtown and make downtown a focus that we can really be proud of, when our friends and our family come into San Angelo. And so we're really excited about some of the plans that we've got for downtown San Angelo, working with Downtown San Angelo Incorporated. The comprehensive plan also focuses a lot on neighborhood revitalization. One of the main problems that we see in San Angelo is not in southwest San Angelo or west part of town, but really in our older areas on the east side, on the north side, and even in central San Angelo, where we're seeing a decline in some cases in property values. We're seeing neighborhoods that are just kind of gradually going downhill. We want to reverse that trend. We know that when you have areas of town where you have your streets in place, where you have your water lines in place, your sewer lines in place, the power company has the electrical grid in place, those areas are far less expensive for city government to redevelop and bring new developments into than it is for the city government to go out on the edge of town, as far out as you can go, and just build a new building or build new housing. We want to continue to encourage all growth in San Angelo, but the taxpayer can see a real benefit to focusing on older neighborhoods and seeing those revitalize and see people move back into those neighborhoods. Because again, the taxpayer is not having to pay for water lines, for sewer lines, to maintain streets and roads, because it's already in place. So we hope that the public really kind of catches the vision of this new comp plan in focusing on how we can revitalize those areas. One of the things that's kind of interesting or surprising about San Angelo is the fact that compared to even the cities in West Texas that surround us, some of the larger communities, San Angelo is highly unregulated. Most people think when they come in for a permit or to get a zone change that we're very regulated, but in fact, if you look at our benchmark cities and even some of our surrounding communities, you know that things like the requirement to have sidewalks as part of new development, a requirement to have landscaping when you're putting in a commercial development, stormwater regulations where you have to control the runoff that comes off of your property. We're one of the few cities that really has very little of that type of regulation. And so we're looking at trying to not necessarily just keep up with other cities, but rather to try to put some common sense development guidelines in place to where we are creating safe, livable communities.
Anytime you see some sort of survey that's done about how livable a city is, I think we saw one recently that came out today about San Angelo being one of the top cities as far as value and expense to visit and live in. When folks think about those ratings, always in that mix, behind all the data, is the public spaces and parks that a community provides. No one is going to argue that Parks and Recreation is an essential and core service that a city provides, but it is an essential service that enhances the quality of life and enhances the city's ability to enhance their economy and bring in folks from out of town to spend money here, bring in those businesses to relocate here to provide jobs. It's sort of the X factor. It provides that extra element that brings folks here to spend money and live here. The Texas Bank Sports Complex. It's an 80-acre facility. It was about a $9.5 million project, virtually all funded with 4B half-cent sales tax. Here again, we also got a grant from the San Angelo Health Foundation for the playground. That facility includes 15 fields, 11 softball fields, 2 standard Little League fields, 1 Little League field for the larger, the older age group, 1 T-ball field. Some of those quads are set up so you can actually have multiple uses out of them. You can set them up for football or soccer, so they have dual purposes. There's lots of parking. There's 2 concession buildings with restrooms. There's a nice big playground, and there's a few other enhancements we have money to do to include some additional shade structures for the facility. So we just opened that. We opened that facility up for some of the first events. The first event was we hosted a sectional Little League, which was a tournament for Little League, our region of the Little League, so they can go compete to the state. We are just now completing hosting the state firefighters Olympics there, and I expect we're going to see a lot of activity at that facility very soon. Adult softball is going to start kicking off probably in September, so it's going to be a great facility.
As far as half-cent sales tax projects, there's 2 categories of projects that the city manages. One is voter-approved projects. That would be affordable housing, as well as the big projects that we've already seen, Texas Bank Sports Complex going in, the fairground improvements, including the parking lot and some new construction out there, as well as water supply, which we're just now starting to get into, some park renovations, renovations to some of our other facilities such as the Convention Center and Coliseum. But then on the other side of that, we have incentives to companies, which are economic development activities. Those dollars are paid to companies to incentivize jobs, to bring those jobs to our communities or to retain them. Our biggest one, of course, is Martifer, the wind generation company. But there are several other smaller companies that haven't been as widely publicized, but are definitely bringing jobs to San Angelo, creating dollars, increasing sales tax, property tax, and that's the intent and purpose of the half-cent sales tax.